Hey guys, it's your girl Lebz and I'm back with another video. So this is the second part of my story time of how I found out about how I had fibroids. So if you haven't watched the first video, please pause, go back to my videos and go to my previous video so that you are caught up with what is happening with your girl. I don't want you to get lost because this part of the story is how the whole procedure went and the healing process. So it wouldn't make sense for you to watch the end and then the beginning. No. Stop, go back to my previous video and enjoy it and then come back to this one. So before I continue any further, please comment, like and subscribe to your channel. It helps me out, and remember, it's free, so it's not taking anything away from you but your time, of course, and I value your time, and that's why I'm bringing out this content, okay? So without wasting any more time, let's just jump into it. So I think I'd stopped when I said I was getting admitted and booked for theatre, right? So I went into the hospital, and a few days before my operation, I had actually gotten my first jab of my what's this? COVID vaccination, yes. So I had my certificates and all because my doctor had told me that when I get admitted into the hospital, I have to present my certificate because they're not allowing anyone into the hospital unless you're a patient. So there are no visitors or anything, right? And because my mom was going with me, literally, I last saw her at the door. She wasn't allowed to get in with me. And because I thought I was still gonna say bye to her, and no, the nurses were like, girl, you're going in. So I don't know what my mom is busy with, but I couldn't really say bye to her because I had to go in and get prepped for my surgery. And because when you have surgery, right, there are a certain amount of hours that you need to have stopped eating the previous day. Luckily for me, I hadn't really had much of an appetite because I wasn't feeling well, and the only thing that I had that day was a spoon of yogurt. So I was fine in terms of that for me to get my operation. So I get into the ward, and before I get into the ward, I get asked, have you taken your COVID test? And I'm like, no, I didn't take a COVID test, but I do have my certificates. And they were like, no, you need to take a COVID test because when you get in, there's a ward for unvaccinated people and vaccinated people, and we need to distinguish that very early in terms of if you had COVID, you need to be in another ward and not with people who don't have COVID. So already I'm like, okay, and we all know how painful that thing is. Like, we all know, right? Because it's really painful. So I'm already nervous about that. I'm like, because I'd had, I think, 2 COVID tests done before, and it was horrible. So now I go into the ward and they take a swab, and they're like, no, by the time your results come out, you would have been out of the theater and you would know where to place you. And I'm like, okay. And then another nurse comes and she tells me, no, she's gonna put my drip and she's gonna put a catheter in me. And I'm like, the only time that I've seen a catheter is in movies, and people are always crying and complaining of how painful it is. So immediately she asked me if I know what it is, and I'm like, isn't it so? And she laughed. She's like, no, that's what everyone thinks, but because she's been doing this for years, it should be painless. And it was. I'll give her that. She did her job. Stella. So they put the catheter in, and then she had problems with finding veins in my arm, and that's always the spiel with finding veins in my arms. And she finally found a vein. So I sat for I think I was there for maybe an hour. or 45 minutes, but my mom called me and other people were calling just to pray. And do you know what the weird thing is? It happened so fast that I couldn't even tell any of my friends that I'm getting, like friends and family, because the other thing was people now were calling me after the surgery or even during, because when I got my phone back, I had a lot of missed calls and people and messages and saying, why didn't you tell us that you weren't well? Why didn't you tell us you're an op-? I was like, girl, I found out on the day. So I had no time to tell my best friend, my friends, my cousins, anyone. The only person who knew was my mom, right? And then I'm guessing she told like my aunts and everyone, my family members, what was happening. That's how quickly things progressed, because I was there for a checkup to see what was actually wrong, and then I got admitted, and then I had to the same day. So everything happened in a matter of minutes, honestly. So now, as I'm lying there, I'm waiting for it to be like 4 o'clock because I couldn't be given water. I couldn't drink water. I couldn't eat. So now I'm thirsty and I'm like, can we just get this over and done with? And then it comes time for me to be rolled into theater. And already there's a hiccup, because I think he's one of like the high people or senior people in the hospital. As I'm being rolled in, he stops my bed, like he's like, what's this, to the nurse, and she's like, it's a drip, and he's like, what color is it? And she's like, it's blue, and he's like, blue is for babies. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I don't even know what's happening. I don't know anything about color codes and drips. Apparently I had the wrong drip on, but he was like, they change it once I get out of theater. So I get rolled into theater, and there are like a bunch of people around me, and they introduce themselves, and yeah, they do the things, they put that mask on, and I'm gone. And the next moment is when I wake up. Guys, I don't know. Sometimes I wish the healing process can happen when you are sleeping, so that when you wake up, you're good and ready to go and carry on with your life. So when I wake up, I got woken up, by the way, and it was my doctor. And you know when you hear someone from a distance, like, I don't know how to explain it, but you guys get me. And I feel nudging, you know, because they usually wake you up, right? But he's calling my name and he's nudging me. And the moment I opened my eyes, I started crying. I was in pain. And I remember saying, I'm in pain. Like, it is so. I kept on saying those words. I remember that very vividly because it was a shock to my system. Like, the moment I opened my eyes, that pain came, you know. And I could hear him say, just press the button. And I'm like, what are you talking about? What button? I'm telling you I'm in pain, and you're telling me about a button. And even after that, he says, do you want to see? And now that I'm thinking of it, I'm guessing he was asking if I wanted to see the fibroid that they had removed. And I remember just snapping and saying no, and turning my head, and I fell back into my sleep. And I'm guessing it was hours later, like 11 o'clock, because I remember being woken up by the nurses this time around. They were waking me up, I'm guessing to give me like injections and whatnot, and just to get me woken up. So the first thing that I say is, I'm in pain. Like, I'm crying again. I'm like, these people keep on waking me up. Like, I'm fine when I'm sleeping. I don't feel the pain. But the moment that I get woken up, the pain comes rushing, like full impact. And she's like, no, just press the button. And it's like my drip was connected to something. I want to say it's morphine. I don't know. I'm not a doctor, as you guys know. But each time I was pressing that thing, it would release some form of liquid and the pain would subside. And then so I'm like, okay, And now I'm thinking about it, I'm like, that's what he was telling me. He was telling me to press that thing so that I get some sort of pain relief. And after that, I was like, I'm really thirsty. Can I have some water? And she was like, you're not allowed to have water after surgery. I wanted to cry. I'm like, firstly, I'm in pain. Secondly, I can't even drink water and I'm thirsty. And she's like, no, we'll just bring you a glass of, just like half a glass. Guys, that was not even 3 drops of water that I could drink. And she's like, because you're gonna throw up, and apparently it was gonna make me sick. I understand, that's their job. In that moment, I just felt like these people hate me. Honestly, at this point, I don't know what you have against me. I just want water. And I remember just drinking 1 gulp, and she took my glass away. She's like, that's all you can have. Next thing, I asked for my phone, because I don't know, I just asked for my phone and then they gave me my phone. And that's when I found all the messages and all the missed calls, and I tried responding, but I was so out of it. I don't even remember anything. The next memory that I have is literally of the next morning, and that's when the gynecologist came and he woke me up. Oh my word, the number of times they wake you up in hospital, you would swear you don't need to rest and heal. He woke me up and he asked how I am, and I was like, I'm still in pain. I don't know how many times I said I was in pain, like in my visits. I was like, I'm in pain. He's like, no, you're gonna get better. And then he asked me, do you want to see the fibroid? And honestly, that wasn't even on my mind. I'm thinking, do I have to see this? But the way that, I think they were like student nurses there, they were just surrounding this bucket and they were like, they had these expressions on their faces like, what is this, you know? So I'm like, I want to see what they're oohing and ahhing about. So I was like, okay, sure. I was never ready for what I saw, firstly. It was disgusting, firstly. Secondly, it was humongous. It was like in a white bucket. I don't know how many liters that bucket was, but it was like filled with liquid. I don't know how to explain this without sounding very disgusting. Yeah. So anyway, I'm giving you guys a disclaimer now. I'm gonna put the picture up of the fibroid because they found out that it was like 1 fibroid and then 2 small ones attached to it. And the fibroid was actually 2.1 kilograms. That was the weight, and the smaller ones, I didn't get the weight of them. So I'll be showing you the picture now. Okay guys, I think you've seen the picture. If you're squirmish, then sorry, but I did give you a disclaimer. So that was the size of the fibroid in my body, and they had removed it. And immediately after that, the nurses started coming and they had to remove the catheter because apparently I needed to start to walk now and to even go to the bathroom by myself. So they removed the catheter, and that was like a good 5 out of 10 in terms of level of pain of removing it. The thing that I was not ready for, that I did not know about, was that there was like a pipe across my abdomen, right? And apparently it was supposed to, I don't know, like prevent clots and whatnot, and that had to be removed. It's like, you know, when you are scared of something and it's like, no, don't stress about that, stress about this. I was so stressed about the catheter and the removal of it that I didn't even know that they were going to remove a pipe on my abdomen. When I say I felt every single movement of that thing being taken out of my body, and the only thing that they can say is, deep, like breathe deeply, and it's like I can't breathe. I can feel this pipe being like moving across my body. It was the most painful thing. On top of that, it's like it's by my incision, so like where there's the stitching and all of that, it was right there. So I'm like, okay. After that, they say you need to start walking. Okay, now you guys are just pushing it. I can't even sleep on this bed, firstly. Like, I'm hunched because it's like I don't know what position to be in. I'm on my back, I can't be on my sides, I definitely can't be on my stomach, and that's how I sleep. So sleep is out of the question. I'm in pain. You guys just removed pipes and catheters out of me, and now you want me to walk? Are you kidding me? And the nurses are like, you have to walk, otherwise you're going to develop clots, and that's just going to complicate the whole healing process. Because now they'll have to be dealing with thinning the clots. And I'm like, okay. And the bathroom was not even 15 steps away from my bed, but it took me minutes to get to the bathroom, guys. That's how hectic it was. Like, I was hunched over, and the nurses kept on saying, you can't hunch your body, you need to be straight. And I'm like, I understand that, but I'm in pain. You want me to walk, now you want me to walk straight. Honey, one thing at a time, please. So I'm trying to stand straight, and it's painful, and I'm trying to walk, and at some points I'm like, okay, I don't want to get clots. I really don't want to get clots. I'm already in excruciating pain. So yeah, I keep on trying to walk, and at some points I actually was just walking by myself to the bathroom with that whole drip attached to me and just pushing. It's like I would take my time, but I would do it. And even the nurses were like, oh, she's finally walking, and they were clapping hands, Jim. I was like, oh, that's so sweet of them. And I didn't have any visitors. I couldn't have any visitors, which was that, I think that's the thing that makes the healing process long or seem very tedious, because you can't have visitors. The only people that you see are the nurses and the doctors and other people who are sick and not feeling well. And it's like, well, this is a bummer. Can't see my mom, can't see my family, nothing. So the nurses come and they keep on checking up on me, and okay, that was fine. I didn't have much of an appetite, firstly. Secondly, the nurses would come. Can I ask if you guys have actually had an injection on your stomach? Guys, when I say I've seen a lot in that process, apparently they had to inject my stomach so that I wouldn't get clots. Everything is about clots, apparently. So I was like, I remember even asking the nurse, can't you just give me the injection on my bum, on my arm, like the normal areas, the areas that we are socialized into knowing, like, what is the stomach injection? It's like, no, it has to be in your stomach. So yeah, I just suck up my courage, and because that thing is painful, and they'd inject me and they'd give me pills. And that morphine thing, or whatever I think it was, that didn't even last a few hours. I was out. And then I can't even remember if they gave me a second one, or after my first one, they just said now they're just giving me painkillers, like tablets now, because they can't give me more of the morphine. They have to wean me off, you know. So that was the thing. And I'd get the painkillers and I'd immediately throw up. Like, so now I'm crying because of, like, the thing that is supposed to ease the pain, I just took it out. Like, what's gonna happen now? And then I think I was in hospital for like 3 days or 4, and then I came home. I can't even remember the ride home. I was so out of it. I was like, either way, and my mom tried to drive, so I was like, either way, I'm gonna have to get home. I'm gonna be in pain regardless of the speed. And then I came home, and my dog could not even be near me. He would just go the opposite direction when I was coming. And everyone who knows Riley knows that he is very energetic, he jumps on people, and yeah, so he would avoid me. He avoided me for like a week, and then I came home. I want to say the healing process was give or take 2 months, because I got the operation in September, beginning of September, and I think I started like feeling myself end of October. So the whole of September, the whole of October, it was just an in and out, like a touch and go, honestly, because sometimes I'd wake up and my stomach would be swollen, and other days would feel like I'm taking one step forward, and then 2 days later it's back, the pain is back. And I think the one thing that I would say, which guys, the one thing that I would say to help in the healing process is shut out all voices that say, yeah, it's been such a long time, why aren't you getting better? Because a lot of people want to compare this procedure with a C-section, and one of the things that the doctor said was that it is not the same. Yes, the scarring might be the same because it's like in the same area, but with a baby, there's actually space for your baby in your body. There's a place for when the baby is forming and growing. With fibroids, they just grow out of nowhere and they start attaching, right? So when they take them out, they are cutting. So you are bound to have swelling within your stomach because they're parts that are stitched and all of it. There was no place for them, unlike a baby. And that's why the healing process took long, right? So sometimes it would swell up, sometimes it would be fine, the pain would come and go, the walking, because I'd have to walk but not too much so that I don't tear my stitches. I couldn't lift heavy things, like you just lie on your bed, you sit up, you do like a few walks around the house, you get back in bed because you need to rest so that you don't tear. The main thing is that you don't tear the operation scar. That was the main concern. Do not do any of those, like don't overexert yourself, don't push yourself, just take it easy. And that's what I did, or that's what I tried doing. And within 2 months I started feeling myself, and that is the honest the honest truth. Yeah guys, that is my story about the second half of the actual operation and the healing process. I hope I shed some light. I'm not going to talk too much because I think I've spoken a lot, but I will say, without turning this into a medical series, a few months later in 22, like the year 2022, sorry, the pain actually came back. I know, it's like a horror story that has a sequel and it doesn't want to end, right? So I immediately thought, I know this pain, is it fibroids? But it can't come back, like even if, because they tell you that sometimes they come back, but they don't come back so quickly, like. So I was like already panicking. I'm like, oh my gosh, please don't let it be fibroids. So I immediately go to the gynecologist and he's like, no, these aren't fibroids, and he referred me to another specialist, right? And I'm not going to go into that story, maybe it will be a story time for another day, but I do want to say that, so the whole navel thing was not related to my fibroids. It's just a blessing in disguise that the pain from my navel led the doctors into finding my fibroids. But that pain was for something else, and I had to get another operation in February this year. And now I am great. I am feeling great. I am good. So yeah, thank you so much for watching this video. I know it's like 24 minutes, 23 give or take. But if you got to this part of the video, you clearly love your girl. So please share this video, comment, like, subscribe, do the things for your girl, and I'll keep coming back with more content. Bye.